Hey everybody, good afternoon. This is Jonas coming at you Monday, June 18th, 2018. How's everybody doing today? Remember, everybody can follow me on Twitter. I am at Big Jonas. You can follow my tweets, follow my ideas, follow my adventures. Let's get right into it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here. Little pop this morning. We were kind of waiting for this inevitable dump that, crypto Twitter seems to have a kind of a consensus on that we are expecting because we keep breaking down and we just not find the momentum and our volume is crappy. And sure enough, this morning we kind of have, at least in these last 2 hours here, a little nice price action, almost buying here. Now, let's talk a look about why we stopped where we stopped. The 55 EMA on the 4 hour has played a pivotal role, kind of in a lot of alts. I keep seeing Bitcoin's price action as well, and right now it's acting as a pretty firm resistance line here. Now I kind of drew this last night as I kind of saw this as almost like a broadening wedge here, where we're kind of potentially still able to put in a test of this upper line here somewhere around 7,000 area. 7,000 would be great to test. It's clearly a psychological resistance level now. We've been in the sixes for, quite a while, it seems, but even though it's only been about 4 or 5 days. But, the longer we stay in the 6,000 range, the more kind of we get used to it. And then it almost kind of allows lower price action to kind of feel like inevitable. So every time, though, we see this nice green candle here, gave a lot of that back here. We gave all of it back and even a little then some, but we kind of held on these wicks here. And now, again, are we going to see a same continuation where this nice little pop in the price action gets sold off to again? Are we in a situation right now where basically profit taking is going to be the name of the game if you get, a little pop in the Bitcoin price action? Now, Bitcoin is translating, this nice little price action here is translating to other coins, but let's take a look at some indicators first. So look at the 1 hour on Bitcoin. Our RSI is almost at 80, is at 80. That's high. You do not see, going back into last month, you see one area right here where the RSI was close to 80, and it did not last long. So even though I do like this nice spike here in the price action and the RSI corresponding, there's a lot of history that says we are topped off pretty solid here on the 1 hour. However, if we look at our 4 hour chart, we do see we can make some room to run here. Now, I drew this line yesterday as a resistance line, and it was pretty solid. And we do see some history kind of in this area right at the 48 to 50 level of the RSI. We were able to break right through that. Maybe we'll come back to retest it as a support and try and build off of that. So we're definitely, out of the woods is kind of a subjective term right now, considering about how low we've come in this price action here. You could argue a little bit that we are kind of oversold from historic. Every time we get down here, we do like to come up and try and test at least the 100 EMA, which is this white line here. Don't even start talking about the 200 EMA, which seems like it's very far up. It's 77, so it's $1,000 higher here. So we have these now stronger resistances above our current price action. It's going to make us very hard to get any higher. And every time we go a little higher, even if we are able to hit 6,800, 6,900, maybe even 7,000, a lot of those gains are subject to just be sold off because traders at this point here, they're taking profit because profit is kind of hard to find, especially if you take a small long position, like I'm sure some did this morning and kind of want to take some profit on there. Take a quick look at Litecoin here, Bitcoin's little brother, if you will. It's been on a more of a bearish track. Obviously, it's kind of faded a little more bearishly than Bitcoin. We can see that in the Bitcoin to Litecoin ratio right here, where we're just right now at 1.4 percent of the Bitcoin price. And what's important about these areas here, let me just hide the volume. is how strong this 1.5% zone lasted, and then we just broke right through it. That's pretty bad because that was holding us up, basically since the beginning of April. So now that we're down, broken through it here, we could almost be continuing that bearish divergence. Basically, Litecoin could trend lower than the price of Bitcoin, as Bitcoin, if it continues to fall, still does so. So we're kind of keep an eye on that as well. But right now, Litecoin is still showing more bearishness in its price action. The 4 hour suggests the RSI, nice little pop there. We're still kind of in the mid 50s here. Not really much to glean here, except we do show how our double bottom in the RSI on the 4 hour has kind of paid off a little bit. But I mean, it's hard to say because look at, you're basically, when we topped off around 103, we were here, and now we're at 98, and we actually have a higher RSI. So does that denote a bullish divergence there, or basically is that denote that this RSI is kind of not really held up with much support? Again, Bitcoin runs the show. So if Bitcoin is unable to keep pushing higher, Litecoin will not be able to run as well. Now, we have to talk about the $100 area here, which obviously from a psychological, from a spiritual point is very important. When we did break it originally, and come down here to about $89 here, we were able to shoot back up and get above it for a couple of bucks there. But that was pretty short-lived, and ever since then, we've basically been hovering in the 90s. It would be great if we could try and test it again, but you gotta ask yourself, like, is this market going to buy a lot of Litecoin above $100? You've had all week to buy it in the mid-90s, so what, you don't like it at 95, but you buy it at 105? I don't know. And then you have on this hourly here, which, it's still playing out. We have a couple minutes left, but this is kind of a nasty wick here. Now, we did have a nasty wick on the previous hour, and we were actually able to kind of push through that. So at this point, these two candles here look great, but they're basically putting the price action of Litecoin overextended a bit. Let's try and consolidate, and maybe we can build off of this. You also see how incredibly low it is from the 55 EMA, which is this yellow line here. Now, Bitcoin touched it, and Bitcoin was basically rejected by it. This is right around $103 here, which is kind of interesting because you see how that $103 area was a support zone and now a resistance zone, and then might again be tested again. So I would not be surprised if we get one more little leg in Bitcoin up, that Litecoin might be able to break over that century mark and again test that 103 area. 4 hour RSI isn't that bad. The daily RSI, there's a lot of history that basically says whenever the RSI dips under 30 on the daily, you buy that because every time it has signified a bottom. And sure enough, we have this other V bottom here that we basically bottomed at 89, and that's what you want to see. You want to see that nice shoot back kind of slingshot there on the RSI. The problem is we're not seeing a lot of follow through. We've had a lot better follow through with a couple other previous V bottoms, that was able to parachute us, from 112 all the way back into the 120s, 130s, and then some. It's tough to say that this little green candle we have happening right now is kind of that moment where we're like, oh, this is a clear bottom, and now the trend in the market has happened. Just not seeing it yet. Now I want to pull up the weekly chart. There's actually a tweet I put out yesterday in regard to a confluence zone of the 0.786 fib level, which we're getting closer to, as well as the 100 EMA, which continues to rise up here. Now you see 2 weeks ago on this red candle here, how the EMA, the 55 EMA, which was our yellow line here, acted as some nice support and actually was able to hold the price for a couple days there, and then it just broke down there. So that basically tells me two things. Tell me that the chart will respect the EMA when touched for at least some time, but it's not necessarily a trend changer. Therefore, it's logical to assume that if we get down to these areas here in the 70s, 75 to 80 area, that this white 100-day EMA will act as a pretty strong support once again. And the way that it's confluing into this zone here of the 0.786 is kind of interesting. So I am hoping for, and I am seeing some strong support zone between $82 and basically as far down to maybe $77. Because every day this little white line gets a little higher and a little higher. It also coincides to back here last August, where Litecoin shot up to $90 and basically kind of found a little support right around $79 to $80 as well, at least for a couple days there. So there's a lot of history. Let's just call it $80, give or take a couple dollars. So yes, we're at $98 right now in Litecoin. Yes, we've been kind of hovering in the 90s for a while here, but there's still nothing to suggest in the chart, especially the weekly chart, that there's any kind of turnaround soon, unless Bitcoin begins to turn. And now what becomes our resistance areas? Well, once again, on the weekly, we see now the 55 EMA, which is our yellow line here, is right at $104 here. Now that corresponds with the $103 line, give about, that I was talking to. That can be a big resistance level, which currently corresponds to the 4-hour 55 EMA right here, currently $103. And this is kind of slowly kind of even out a little bit, but it's still kind of be a strong resistance level. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Hey, look at that, 4-hour 55 EMA, just like Bitcoin, strong resistance. We like to see that because it basically shows that it's respecting the chart and respecting the EMAs as either supports or resistances, and right now it's clearly showing it as a resistance. This wick is not very long here, which basically means Ether is still pretty strong. And listen, like, it wants to go higher. It wants to go higher. But there's so much above it now, the 100-day, the 200-day, and all these other price points that it just was not able to hold, that are kind of act as strong resistance levels if Ethereum is able to kind of trudge a little higher. Let's take a look at the RSI here on the 4-hour, nice little move higher there, where we are finding that we are now in kind of a historic boom resistance zone there, where we have hit it twice over here, we've hit it once over here, and kind of a lot of history here. So it looks like about 60 on the RSI is historic resistance, and once again we are butting up against it here and corresponding with the 4-hour 55 EMA. Let's zoom in a little bit to the 1 hour here. And similarly, we're seeing the 200-day on the 1 hour acting as resistance here. We broke through it. We weren't able to hold. We touched it again, not able to hold again, but we're still trying to kind of battle through that. The bulls still have a little momentum from this morning's push. However, look how high the 1-hour RSI is. We're back in the overbought zone. Now, we have history when we were up there, and look, we don't last there very long. Quick up, quick down, kind of bounce around, and then fall apart. So this could be a prelude, but for right now we see that kind of curving over just slightly. Wouldn't be surprised if we basically maybe get a few more bucks left in this and then it comes down. But let's see if we can now create this green line here as a support zone, which had been kind of a resistance zone a couple times in previous RSIs. We can even move it a little higher, corresponding with this area and this area here. So maybe we come back here, but if we test it and hold, that would definitely be a nice bullish sign there. I will take a look at EOS as well. It's kind of the new big brother, so to speak. And I'll pull up the 4-hour. Now, this is kind of a chart I tweeted on Twitter in regard to a channel that EOS is currently traveling in. We can see that it broke the middle support of the channel, touched the bottom support, found rejection in the middle bar in there, and is kind of really hasn't done our double tap yet, which we kind of want to see to either confirm this as a solid support. A couple wicks here suggests we're getting a little tired in terms of the bulls, but we do have some bullish crossing here on the EMAs that could play out. clearly, if we are able to retest this middle channel line resistance, it's strong, folks. It was unable to break here with a pretty nasty wick. So other tests will be a real battle for it to see if it can test it and break higher. Otherwise, good chance we're going to still continue to unwind from this really nice bullish action we had all the way through April. Indicators, the 4-hour is pretty consistent here, a little dropping a little bit there on the RSI, but not too bad. And the daily suggests that, see, this is kind of interesting here. So we see what happens when a daily RSI can really bottom out. And we see what happens when a daily SI can really top off. Now we're kind of hanging out in the middle here. So not a lot of direction there. Personally, I feel we're going lower. I feel we're going lower just based on the amount of move we had and the fact that this was basically a buy the rumor, sell the news. A lot of the mainnet, when it launched, basically signified potentially the top of this channel, of this market for now with EOS. This overall trend support, which we kind of start out with. Let me just do that. Boom. So here, once again here, we touched it a couple times, and now still see how far the price is above it. At some point, the price will touch this orange line. The question is it going to be, come on, sooner? Boom. Is it going to be sometime in the next, month or two, or is it going to be much farther out in the year? But at some point it will. And this line, if we do touch it, will act as a really nice support zone. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. I want to take a look at some of our longs and shorts. Now, I've been watching the Bitcoin shorts, and I've been really trying to get a sense of the market sentiment here. We see we have this kind of bullish wedge. We were able to break out of it. This hourly, pretty nasty red candle does signify this little pop in Bitcoin's price. We do see that the 200-day on the 1 hour has acted as a nice support zone. Now we're back in this wedge here. So we're going to keep an eye on that and how it reacts to this wedge. Remember, when Bitcoin shorts drop, that means the price is probably going higher. When Bitcoin shorts rise, that means the price is either expected to go lower or is going lower. We don't see longs getting too crazy. A nice little push there. But you see, and this is kind of an interesting example here, where in previous history where we've had the longs oversell and get the price way down here, are we seeing a similar situation where the longs kind of got a little too shaken out of their positions, and now they're trying to compensate, trying to get back up above this line, which has acted as support here, here, and here, didn't get low enough to touch it over here. So once again, there's a possibility where this bottom support line could now easily show it to be very strong resistance once again. So we'll keep an eye on that. Nothing too crazy in a bunch of the other ones here as well. So I just want to kind of stick with the majors for today. Whatever Bitcoin's price action does, clearly the alts are going to follow in suit. Clearly some alts are going to have a better run than others, and we've seen that from a percentage standpoint, that when Bitcoin does run and does have a nice bullish momentum and maybe is able to go up 10, 15, 20%, we can see a handful of alts that are easily able to go up 50, 100% or even higher. So I'll do another video just exclusively on alts sometime soon. As we see the price action in Bitcoin here, once again, the hourly RSI is just way overbought. So I'm expecting this to kind of come down a little bit. Maybe we can find some support above 6,700, but just hovering around there. Every dollar higher is going to be that much more harder, because people that were able to get in lower, they're kind of sell out. They're going to take profit. They want to lock in that profit because we're in such a tight trading range on a very low volume environment right here. One last thing I want to take a look at is our coin market cap. So we're hovering right here on top around $289 billion. We've been under $300 billion for several weeks now, it seems, and that's not good. We want to stay above 300. That's a nice zone there. Look how the Bitcoin dominance is over 40, or right at 40 again. That's a big improvement. It was down to 35, 36% when a lot of the alts were running pretty strong at the end of April, beginning of May. And cryptocurrencies, 1,630. That's actually down a couple currencies here and there. So clearly, some coins have kind of fallen off and been delisted from a bunch of the markets that offer them. We're seeing Bitcoin right here. Now we'll take a look at the historical data to get a sense of kind of our volume. And look how low our volume is. Oh my God. 3 billion, 3 billion, low 3 billions. And even with that nice pop we had earlier today, we're still in the 3 billion range. We're kind of clearly in the day a little over 4 billion because there's several hours to go. But I mean, where's the money flow? Where's the volume? Market cap around 110 billion now 115 billion with a few $100 we just added onto the price of Bitcoin. Personally, I want to see what happens when the market cap of Bitcoin hits 100 billion flat. I want to see if that's going to be a nice bounce opportunity. Not there yet. Another obviously 15% to go until we get down there, but it could be an interesting moment where Bitcoin right on the dot hits 100 billion, and wouldn't that be a great place for a nice bounce there? But listen, the volume is not there right now, so you're not seeing huge sell-offs. You're not seeing huge buying. Kind of a bunch of consolidation in the middle. What is it going to take to get more money coming into this market, get more buyers coming into this market? Right now, Bitcoin price at $6,750. It still isn't showing that it's cheap. You still feel that a lot of money is just on the sidelines, waiting for a cheaper Bitcoin price and a cheaper favorite alt as well. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at BigChonas. I'm also on TradingView at BigChonas. And I hope you guys found some of my insights informative and instructional. I hope to continue to put out the kind of content I like to put out, which is simple, fun, informative, and a little bit of artistic flair as well. So until next time, everybody, thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon.